Worthy Nation, Dr. Nick Fanning here with a brand new episode, and I am very pleased to introduce my good friend, Gary Swarni. Now, Gary is a owner-operator at Elevate Fitness in Greenwich, Connecticut, and it seems a little weird that a small-town guy like me in western Nebraska would be even know this guy. However, we have a small history together in this coaching group that we used, but more importantly, I actually hired Gary to help take my own fitness up a notch for a period of about 3 months this last fall. And the beautiful thing about the internet nowadays and the way that the world connects is that we were actually able to pull this off through using an app, through using Facebook Live, and using a lot of different things to make sure that he stayed on top of things and kept me motivated this whole time. Gary is an entrepreneur, and he has just really honestly just tackled the fitness industry from anything from consulting as far as other fitness owners do, but also running his own gym, but also even being in the personal training section of that. Gary, if I left anything else out, please fill in the details. What do you got here?
Well, first, I just want to say thank you for having me on your podcast, man. What an honor and just an absolute privilege. And I appreciate it. Yeah, I love you. This is great. It's so good to be here. One correction. I'm not from Greenwich, Connecticut.
Oh my goodness.
It's all good. We call it Greenwich, Connecticut.
Oh okay. That's my Western Nebraska, we have to pronounce it exactly how it's spelled.
So, you know what? Leave anything out. It's like, who cares, right? Like I've gone through a lot of stuff. We've been in the industry for over 20 years. I've done a lot of other things inside and outside of this industry. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, like, who wants to hear my complete story? Because it would just bore you to death, right? But what I can say is that I've been in the guts of it all inside this industry. I've seen the good, I've seen the bad, and I've come out on the other side. And it's funny because a lot of people in this industry know me as kind of like the business guy in the industry, where, you open up gyms, because we do a lot of different things. We don't just run gyms, we build gyms, and we have a construction company that like fits out gyms and things like that. And we work with real estate management companies and stuff like that. But what's super, I don't know, what like drives my heart and my soul and just like empowers me on a daily basis is the one-on-one kind of communication, the one-on-one life transforming, I guess you could say, without being completely cheesy, that I do every single day and now with the internet, with all of these people that I'm able to do it with, is so freaking empowering, so amazing that it literally, like I tell people this all the time. I do not wake up in the morning not wanting to go to work. Right? It's not a work thing. People are like, oh, what do you do for fun? I'm like, this is what I do for fun.
This is my passion.
This is my gig. Like, this is what I do. I love it.
And folks, I think that's pretty obvious as soon as you just like hear Gary talk about it, just emanating from you that this is what you're born to do. This is what you do. And honestly, cheese it out, man, because honestly, it's just be passionate about it. And that's why you are on my podcast, especially in January, when we have millions upon millions of Americans starting to hit gyms such as yours.
Yeah. And it's crazy. And a crazy statistic, actually, bring up January and like New Year's resolutions and like everything that goes on in January, is that I want to say, and it's not going to be perfect because the study gets, redone year after year, but it's almost like 92% of people, 92% of people at the beginning of the year, their New Year's resolution is to lose weight.
Right.
92%. Okay. But their New Year's resolution isn't just to lose weight. It's to lose the weight that they gained from no shit. Can I say shit on the podcast?
Oh, go for it.
From Thanksgiving to Christmas.
Yes.
Right. And guess what the percentage of them that actually stick with it? It's less
2%.
than 8. It's less than 8%.
Yeah.
Less than 8. right? So it's my job to like inspire, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's so much information. People come to me all the time and are like, Gary, what about this diet? Gary, what about this workout program? I read this in Men's Health. I read this on the internet. Like their minds are bombarded with stuff that they just get completely paralyzed and don't know what to do.
Oh,
like
yeah.
they're just like, screw it. Like I don't even know. Like, I'm gonna go for a run. That tells me not to run. Go for speed. Like, I don't know what to do. Right.
Just keto it up, but then also make sure I have extra of this. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's clickbait fever.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So like my biggest thing is like this time of the year, it's so funny. People are like, oh, do your memberships go up at this time of year? Does this go up at this time of year? Do you get more clients at this time of year? And my answer is no, because the people that I work with, I'm like, if we get on the phone and we're like, okay, we're a good fit, and I'm choosing now to change my life.
Right.
We're not waiting until January 1st.
Right.
Like we're doing it now.
Amen.
Like, done. There's no waiting, right?
Oh.
So yeah, you see it all the time of like the New Year's resolution and everything happening in January. But like, listen, 92% of people make this resolution. Less than 8% actually achieve their goal in that. And their goal is only to lose the weight from November to December.
Right.
Right.
Right. So how do you combat that? I mean, we're this whole podcast is about mindset and the stories in our heads. Why do you think there is such a drastic failure? I mean, is it injury? Is it mindset? What do you think it really is?
Yeah. So I did a really, really huge study years ago, and I was partnered with a couple of people where we created this certification in the fitness industry called the Mindset Performance Institute. And awesome. We created it years ago, and it is 100%, I could say factual, right? Where it is not because people don't know what to do. People know what to do.
Right.
Right. So people understand that an apple is better than a Hershey bar. Right.
Amen.
People understand that if you move your body every day, you'll feel better.
Right.
Right. People get it. So it's not like we don't understand it. It's not like we need more information. The problem is there's a blockage. Mm-hmm. The problem is that there's a story unconsciously that we're telling ourselves that, we're the fat kid.
Yes.
Or, I mean, I could go on and on, right? We're the fat kid. If I lose the weight, I'll never sustain it. I can't sustain that lifestyle, right? Or what? Oh my God, I'm gonna have to prep my meals every day in order to have this. Like, there's so many damn stories that go on in your head that aren't true. None of these stories are true. They're all fictitious. They're all perspectives of different things that people have told you that you've compiled into a story now that paralyzes you from getting what you want.
Amen.
Right? So if your listeners actually just like take that into consideration and just say, okay, am I really telling myself this story? And is this story actually really true? Like, how do I even know that I won't be able to sustain it? Maybe evidence shows that in the past I've reached that and I wasn't able to sustain it. So boom, it's true. Right. Which is not true.
Right.
The only reason that's true is because you told yourself that story that time. That doesn't mean it's going to happen again. Right? Is it true that you were put on this earth to be the fat kid? No.
Or the funny fat one in the group? No.
I mean, come on, right?
I told myself that.
Is it true? Yeah. I mean, I work with I work with like some musicians and some people that think that they are where they are because they're fat or because they're overweight. They're like, if I lost the weight, I would lose my creativity. No, you're not. No, you won't. I promise you won't.
Right.
I promise. And they're like, I don't know. And then we do, and they're like, you're right. Right. And then 5 years later, they keep the weight off because they changed the story. because that's what it is. It's the story that blocks them.
Yeah. In fact, Gary, you helped me beat one of my own stories that I had. Remember I talked about I can't lift heavy because I need to have my hands in order to adjust people and help people. And you're like, okay. And then what he did is he still gave me the workouts. I still had to do them. And lo and behold, took like 2 weeks. And I figured like, oh, crap, shit. I was actually lifting heavy. I'm doing these things and it's not bothering my hands. And there's no reason why I should have this roadblock anymore about working out on days where I have to adjust a lot of people. And so
I remember that day.
Yeah.
I remember that day. And I remember, and I don't know if I told you this story, but like we work with like brain surgeons.
Yeah.
And not that that's any different, right? They work with brain surgeons and eye surgeons and plastic surgeons and all these people that like need to use like these little cuts and like be right on. And they totally lift heavyweight. So when you told me that, I was like, there's a story. Right?
Amen.
There's a story.
Amen.
And then you got to compile. And then my job is to understand that that's a story and then figure out how to change that story in your head without you really knowing it until you do.
Yes.
Right?
It was an expert move. I couldn't believe it. I look back and like, that clever genius. No, seriously though. I mean, so I have to feel like that the instruction and the whole reason of getting accountability, especially this time of year, is to break through these stories, but to provide that instruction both physically, but also even more importantly, probably is that mentality instruction as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I said, we all know what to do.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the physical part, right? We all know that if you go for a run, like if you lift weights, like we all know the right things to do, right? I mean, we can look at, but is the 7-minute abs better than the 6-minute abs? Like we could have that debate if you want, but like we all understand that since humans came on this earth, moving made them better.
Amen.
That's it. I mean, you cannot debate that. That's not debatable. That's factual, right? So when you deal with facts. So that is understood. The most important part of that is getting you, the individual that wants to do that,
right,
to actually do it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You know you want to do it. You get it. I get it. I got it totally. This is what I need. I know I need to do it, but why am I not doing it? And therein lies the most important part of what I do, is that the counseling of individuals to get what they want, to go from point A, where they're like, either I'm done with this, I'm sick, I want to lose weight, or I need to gain weight, or I need to get ready for whatever, or there's a million different ors, right, at point A. But there needs to be a bridge between the gap of point A to point B, right? And if you don't understand the bridging of the gap, because it's not just physical, you're not just going to claw your way and pull your way to point B. Right? You've got to kind of understand the accountability on my end and your end of how to get from point A to point B, because there's going to be plenty of roadblocks. There's going to be plenty of days where you don't want to do something. There's going to be plenty of days where you're like, this isn't working. There's going to be plenty of bad days.
Right.
And in those bad days is when you have a conversation with me, just like this, right? To get you to understand why you're having that bad day. And you're like, well, how is that? He can't read my mind. You're right. I can't, but I could read your language, right? I could now, the beauty of like these video conferences is I could read your body language, right? There's tons of things that I could read, and everything that we do, I track. So I understand where you are at a certain place in time. This all has been done before, right? It's almost like the stock market, right? Like you see trends, you see things that happen. So I've been doing this for so long. When people get on programs, I see the trend. I know when people are going to drop off. I know when this is going to happen because it's happened before, and I get it and I study it.
Yeah, you do.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
You saw it with me. You saw it with, and I know you have. I mean, I internet stalked you even before we had this interview. And there's Yelp review after Yelp review. There's Facebook reviews. There's all these people have saying like, there's an X factor with Gary and his programs that it's not just they have the classes, they have the boot camps, but there's that je ne sais quoi, or that extra factor of like, hey, this is how he got me through those roadblocks. This is how he got me through that hump that was going to inevitably happen. And Gary, you have this ability to kind of enter the conversation in people's heads to actually get through that. So with the internet and with everything that's changing so rapidly, as far as like getting groups on Facebook or even doing online coaching, what have you had to change? What have you had to do to kind of pivot and make sure that this kind of great change still happens?
Sure. So it's a great question. And it's a great thing as well, right? Okay. Because imagine there's, I don't know, 10 hours a day that I can work with one-on-one people, right? Or out of those 10, there's 3 that I'm maybe working with a group of 20. Like, I don't know. There's a ceiling throughout the day, right? Where I've created online is I can reach millions of people, right? I can work with hundreds and hundreds of people at one time and be completely focused on them simply because of the internet, simply because of the software that we've designed, that has been designed, that we help create, and that we are able to use the accountability of certain things. And it's just amazing how we could bring everything together, and I can have that same effect, or my coaches, or we all can have that same effect on people in Nebraska and in Florida and in Ohio and all across the world. And I have a client in Iceland. I mean, freaking Iceland. Like, I would never go to Iceland, right? But like, it's amazing how Australia, right? Like, it's crazy. And so people I remember sitting down at lunch one day years ago, talking to a banker, and I was like, how do I grow the business? And he's like, you know what, dude, you can't. He's like, because you can't clone yourself. And I was like, that's kind of BS. Like, I got to figure out a way. So we figured out a way to not clone me, because I'm not special, right? I'm just like everybody else, right? There's nothing special about me. I'm just passionate and study the topic. That's all, right? I'm not any better or different than anybody else. So we learned how to take the business model in a brick and mortar place and learn how to expand it out that way. And that was great, right? We learned that. And then but then now taking this whole model on the internet and letting me be giving my energy to the other individual on the other side of the camera is mind-blowing to me, right? That I could even do that, and that other person could actually feel that. But then seeing the results is astonishing. When people are losing 70 pounds in like 3 months, right? When people are like, it's amazing. And they live in Texas. Right? Yes. Like, I'm on the East Coast here. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy cool. And it's fun. And the greatest thing is that I get to I get to touch virtually every single one of you. Which is, to me, super important.
Oh yeah, because you just can't. There's so much information out there anyway that's so disconnected, and we just want to absorb what we call mental masturbation in the industry. But to have a face, to have the accountability, to have somebody that actually can check in on you and keep you accountable, but also even have these conversations just like this. I mean, that's what sets it apart.
I think so. And people look at accountability in different ways. The way I look at accountability is a conversation. Right. Like, I'm not here to be like, hey, asshole, make sure you go to the gym, because if you don't go to the gym, you're going to get fatter. Like,
Right.
That's not how I roll, right? That's not my thing. And if people are like, and I've had so many people, I tell you, I've had people say to me, you need to be on my ass about everything, right? You know those people, right? But you know what? In reality, it's not the being on the ass about everything that makes that person move.
Right.
It's getting that person to understand how to move,
right?
Why they're moving, right? Break that cycle, break that pattern of story that they have. And that's true accountability, is being accountable to breaking that pattern. For me to understand that there's a pattern, here's how we need to interrupt it, here's how you succeed, right? That's accountability. Accountability isn't, let's get on the phone and make sure you get that done. Accountability is, let me listen, let me understand,
right,
and then we'll come up with a solution.
Beautiful. I think that's true coaching, instead of just being a drill sergeant.
Right.
Yeah, because all you're looking for is to help this person improve. I mean, I will tell you this, folks, that during training with Gary, I just wrenched my knee because I decided to I was playing Disney Dad, and I ran up this piece of equipment and just totally wrecked my knee. And I was like, Gary, I don't know if I can work out. And he's like, is that true? And I was like, well, yeah, my knee hurts. He's like, but can you still train? And I was like, all right, yeah. At the same time, I had to explain that fear to him, and then he just listened to it. He's like, well, hey, we still got other body parts you can move. We can still box, we can still bench, we can still do push-ups, we can still do all this other stuff. And there's no excuses. You have this goal, and I'm just showing you like, hey, by the way, you totally forgot to look at this option B and C here. And yeah, you called right on it. So yeah, the conversation is huge.
I think that we become it, and I think that we become, when something like that happens to us, right? Well, it's like you go circle into the pit. You become like, you feel sorry for yourself at that time, right? And you're like, I can't do it. And a lot of times there are individuals that will say, well, Gary's never experienced this, so then he doesn't know what he's talking about. But you know what's crazy? What I think is cool, is I have experienced it.
Yeah.
I have experienced reconstructive surgery. I have experienced a billion other things that, with life and kids and work and blah, 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 and all this other stuff, right?
Yes.
In so many different aspects of life, whether it's depression, whether it's hormone imbalance, whether it's whatever you want to throw at my face, I can say, I think I've been there or I've dealt with it. A lot of it. Right? So I understand. I can empathize, but I can't let you just feel sorry for yourself at that time. Like, I have to let you understand that you're more than you actually think you are at that moment.
Ooh, that's a great quote.
Right?
I like that. I'm probably going to save that for the intro. That was amazing. Yeah, because honestly, Gary, you have two kids. You have Christina and you have Jackson. You're married with Jill, but you call her Jilly, right?
Yeah.
You have multiple areas of this business, both in consulting, training, online training, leading a team, owning the business. So you have to do the business part of it as well. You have every excuse, and yet you still do the work every single day. You still role model that, especially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a really big part of it is, and it's surprising. I would almost feel like I was a fraud or not able to tell people or coach people on how to do things if I myself wasn't willing to put myself through those things to do.
Amen.
If that makes sense, right? Like, I always tell people, my mom would always say, when I didn't want to eat my vegetables when I was little, she would always say, Gary, I would never give you some type of food that I would never try. So I was like, that's so gross. I don't know. She'd be like, I would never give it to you if I wouldn't try it myself. And I remember that, and I use that to this day. I'm like, guys, I would never give you anything or put you in a situation or ask you to do something that I already haven't done.
Beautiful.
Because if I haven't tried it for myself, how do I know that it's even going to work? Right? I never want to put anybody in a dangerous situation. I never want to put anybody in a situation of where they're just going to try something and always fail at it. Like you don't grow. You grow from failure, but you don't grow from failing just because.
Right. With no purpose. Yeah.
Right. Like there's got to be intent behind it all.
Amen.
Right. There has to be intention behind it. That's why the company, so we have Elevate Fitness and all of this. That's why the online company though is called Intentional Strength.
Ooh, I like that.
Because if there's no intent behind what you're doing, if there's no why, right? Like if there's no why, then what's the point? You go to the gym and you're like, ugh, like I don't even,
going through the motions.
It sucks, right? Like, yeah. And then, okay, so you went to the gym, and then every other decision after that counters what you just did, right? So if there's no intent of a purpose of your life, right? And I'm not saying like, okay, you need to know the purpose of your life in order to go to I'm not saying that. Right. I'm saying when you walk through the gym doors, have an intention of why you're there.
Beautiful. I like that. So you pre-frame your body and your mind for whatever specific action you might be. Yeah, we do this in chiropractic. Otherwise, we call it pushing meat, where we're just hitting the high spot. But if we have the intention of what our goal is for this person or this client, or what we're bringing them closer to God, or to release their nervous system, whatever it might be, it makes all the difference. Intention is everything. And especially if you're going through a mindset of that too. And honestly, Gary, I know that you role model in every way, because one of my favorite things, and I'm hoping that you're going to do it here in January, was last year when you did the 2017 challenge.
Yeah.
That was amazing, because every day, folks, you would see videos and pictures of him and his kids and his wife jumping in and doing these things. And here this guy is, I just met this guy, and here he is in the snow, in this backyard in the dark snow, doing squats as fast as he could and trying to get over the month of January, 2017 squats, 2017 push-ups and burpees, and what else?
Squats, burpees. I think it was like sit-ups.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that you do that for 2018, because it was amazing. And honestly, that's one of my goals for the quarter, is to make sure I do that anyway. So if you don't do it, I'm rocking it anyway. So
it's funny. We usually do it every year. We started 2 years ago, and we've been raising money.
I love that.
And that's why we started it. We started with an individual. He now lives in Georgia, but he wrote this great book. If you haven't read it, it's called Living with a Seal.
Okay.
It's living with a Navy SEAL, not the animal seal. And
yes.
it's hilarious, and he's a great guy, and he's raised tons of money with doing physical challenges like this. So in January, what we do is we get everybody on our network to do this, and it's fun, and we get to like compete with each other, have a fun time, and it's good.
Good. Well, if anything else, folks, I hope that you go to his Facebook page, Elevate Fitness, or look him up online and join that at the very least, because I know it's hot and heavy in action.
Yeah, it's fun.
I absolutely love it. So, well, I want to shift gears here a little bit. Yep. So we talk about the role model. We talk about the mindset for your clients. Sometimes the best way to really learn and practice a craft, such as helping other people with mindset, and you learn that from that, but how do you actually apply that for yourself?
Yeah. So that's a great question. And that for me, changes. Okay. It changes. It doesn't change all of the time, but it changes. I mean, we could talk about this topic forever.
Oh, I know. There's so much we could do.
Like, I have in the past 3 years, I have been through a roller coaster.
Hold on, we're going to have to cut this out because of the train. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
That's okay. In the past 3 years, I've been through a roller coaster in regards to what works for me regarding my mindset.
Okay.
Because I would always have like the comparable mindset, like, okay, why doesn't this guy have to do this? Why do I have to journal and write my thoughts down? And this dude doesn't have to do that, but he seems to have a great marriage or a great everything. Why do I have to do it? What's the difference, right? Yeah. Or why do I have to meditate? And this dude doesn't, he's crazy mofo. He doesn't have to do it, but yet he's got everything I want, right? But little did I know, because I wasn't really looking inward in me. And looking inward, what does that even mean? At the time, I had no idea what things like that meant, or it was just confusing. It was just confusing to me. So what I do now is I like to journal, right? I like to pick out specific situations in my life that put a trigger on a story, right? And then, as we do, as I know that you do a lot of, is journaling what we call walk the block. Like, what's the opposite version of this story? What's the desired version? What do I want? Right. So
that's huge right there just by itself.
Where it comes down to, like, I mean, I could show you on my desk here all of the stuff that I have here. And it's like, the biggest thing is, what do I want? And if I'm clear on what I want, like in the next 90 days, in the next 30 days, today, right? If I'm clear on these things, then my actions, after I review them in my journals, right? In the journals that I have or whatever, and I'm clear on them, then I know how to go about the day. And then when I get triggered, because we oftentimes forget to remember, right? So I forget to remember what I already read early this morning, and I get triggered on something, then I'm able to kind of circle back and be like, okay, wait a second, Gary, hold up. This isn't what you want. This isn't what you want. So if it's not going to get you what you want, take a chill pill for like 10 seconds.
Yes.
Breathe for 10 seconds. Breathe, right?
Right.
Maybe read again what you had already read this morning, so that you go in the right direction. I mean, this happens, and I know that there's both men and women that watch your podcast or listen to this and watch this, but this happens so often with men.
Right.
I feel like women are geniuses, men are not.
It's true.
And like, because I feel like every time I come up with this revelation, I'm like, oh my gosh, Jilly, like, I got it. Like, I get it. And she's like, You've always had that. Like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, really? Like, you think so?
Right? How'd you know that? Because I just realized.
So, and that's, so we also have like a men's group here where we deal with a lot of men that have no idea how to get out of their own way.
Yes, that's exactly the point of this podcast. Thank you.
Like, it's just, you just got to get out of your own way. Like, take your foot off the brake. Like, stop putting your foot on the brake. Take your foot off the brake for a little bit. And oh my gosh, see what happens. But that's a scary thing to do, right? Because if you're comfortable with the foot on the brake, right? If you take it off the brake, you might go faster. You don't know. Like, things might change. You have no idea. And that's a scary and uncertain thing. Right? But if you do something scary and uncertain alone, it's way scarier. Right? But if you have someone with you who's maybe been in that scary, uncertain place before, it makes that scary place not so bad. And it helps you understand where you're going, helps you understand how to get out of that scary and uncertain place.
By example. I love it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But at the same time, we just got to remind them what their answer is and help them through that. So yeah, I mean, we can learn from somebody, but what the hell do you want?
What do they want?
Yeah. Because I can ask anybody on here, and we could be on Facebook and we could ask there. Most people would answer with like what they don't want.
Yeah.
Versus actually just saying, well, what the hell do you actually want?
For sure.
And if you can identify that, then man, a lot of those stories can start to disappear. Yeah. And Gary's talking about a process that we talk, Byron Katie touches on that, about whether a story is true or not in Loving What Is. A mentor of ours, Garrett J. White, kind of put it into a system where he talks about, if the story is true or not, and then what do we want, and then what are the versions of the story, and then what story are you really going to choose here? Because, it could be the fact of like, oh, I can't lift heavy because of my hands, I need to adjust them. And then I figure out, really the story is that I'm totally capable of doing this, and I was holding myself back for that. And what do I really want from this? Well, I want to have amazing health and be able to role model that. So what am I going to do? I'm going to start lifting heavy, so it's those little things like that can make a big difference. So Gary, good. Thank you for touching on that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because in my opinion, like the story is just that.
Right.
It's a fictitious story that you, whomever, can change at any time. Right? Like the story of, I can't make it to the gym. Okay, great. Can't make it to the gym. I hear that tons of times a day, right? And that's cool.
Right.
But can you do this at home for 15 minutes? And people are like, well, I think I can do that at home for 15 minutes. And then that 15 minutes turns into 25 minutes. And then their gym is home.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you just took a story, you changed the perspective of the story, right? So that they could get what they want. Right? Because if they wanted to have better health and lose weight, and you said be a Disney dad, and you're running up something and you hurt your knee, like if you want that stuff, but your story is that you can't get to the gym, cool. Okay. The fact of that story is that maybe the gym is 25 minutes away from your house and the time lapse like sucks. That's a fact. And you don't want to do that. Okay. So we take that and we design the program for home. And that's it. It's a different perspective, right? But you've got to know what you want, right? And you've got to be able to have someone to understand, to listen to you, and to be able to say, okay, well, let's help you get you what you want.
Mm-hmm. So folks, I hope you're starting to understand the real reason, like honestly, it totally makes sense why I'd have Gary on today, but the real reason, because you can do the Beachbody thing, you can do like the Jillian Michaels DVDs, you can go to hit the gym and try to do it yourself. But here's the whole point of having somebody there for you, to have somebody coach you, is not just the physical thing, not say like, okay, do 20 push-ups. It's hey, this is why you're doing those 20 push-ups. This is the reason why you're able and capable of totally doing these 20 push-ups, even though you feel you can only do 10 when you first start. Okay. So folks, here's the thing. I know I want you listening to this podcast and actually doing something with it. You don't pay for this. And so you either have an obligation of sharing this information or actually doing what we fucking recommend. Pardon the F-bomb, but we're just being serious here. Okay. So here's the thing. Gary, is there any way that they can get a hold of you, or even like, talk with even working with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So the two easiest ways. So you could check out intentionalstrength.com.
Okay.
And you could go there and kind of review a bunch. There's videos on there. You could review a bunch of stuff and learn a bunch of stuff. And another great way to get more information on me and things that we do is Gary Swarni Facebook.
Okay. All of those
there.
Links in the show notes, guys.
Yeah, and then just you can shoot me a message of anything, right? Like if you're interested in anything, if you have questions about stuff, shoot me a Facebook message. I mean, listen, the one thing that I don't ever want to be is the guy that people cannot get a hold of. Right? I always want people to understand and be able to, as cheesy as it sounds, feel loved by me, right? So you can always, if you send me a message, I will respond to your message.
Beautiful.
Never. There was a story that I played in my head for so many years of like, I can't reach out to this person because they just don't have time for me. They'll never respond back. And it was a story in my head. And the way that I fight that story too is by making sure that I'm there for individuals. And people say, you can't be there for everybody. Well, you know what? You're right. I can't be there for everybody, but I can be there for a lot of people,
Darn
a
right.
lot of them.
Darn right.
Yeah. So the easiest ways, I mean, Facebook is super simple. Everybody's on Facebook. You go to my Facebook page. Instagram page is Swarni5. And you just find me there too, which is super fun. We do lots of fun stuff on Instagram. But
they do.
intentionalstrength.com is where you can find cool videos. Even YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, Intentional Strength, is really cool too. So,
and folks, the reason why I kind of pushed Gary to share this information is pretty simple. Honestly, I don't want just another year to pass and us to be having this conversation December 2018, and being like, hey, look at all this time that you could have done something with it. An entire year has passed and you're no better off than what you were. You're still trying to lose that same 10 pounds that you lost, that you gained between Halloween and New Year's. And life is you're just kind of mediocre and just kind of going through the paces. So here's the thing. If you would have been able to do it on your own, you would have done it by now. You need help. You need the accountability. You need something. And I'm just speaking plainly for you, because in the industry I am in, people try it all the time where they're like, oh, I'm just trying to do this on my own. And I'm like, at first, when I was first out of chiropractic school, I was like, I can save you. But now it just comes down to like, I'm here when you're ready.
Yeah.
And it has to come down to that, folks. You got to take the step. You got to look for somebody. And I wouldn't even, here's the thing. You can't choose your friends. You can't choose your loved ones, because they're just going to love you. And they're not going to hold you to that standard that you declare for yourself, that you say that you want for yourself, because they're still going to be just kind of loving on you versus holding you to a whole new level. So Gary, honestly, great job today.
Well,
a lot of heavy stuff.
I appreciate you having me on here. And I just want to touch on one quick point. And
please.
It's, you made a great point where you just said, it's harder for loved ones and friends to hold you accountable to certain things, right?
Yeah.
In my experience with loved ones and friends, because listen, people, my loved ones and my friends ask me all of the time for help, right? And my wife tells me this often, right? Because she's like my go-to. I'm like, why? If mindset wise, like when I get messed up, I'm like, Jill,
yes.
Like what's wrong with me, right? So
they'll tell us to us straight, very bluntly.
She is queen at this. And I don't know if it's so much that person doesn't, and maybe it is. Maybe they just don't want to tell you the actual truth.
Right.
Maybe they just don't want to hurt your feelings. Mm-hmm. Right? I get that. I totally get that. But the intent that I have with anybody is never to hurt your feelings. My intention is never to make you feel bad, right? My intention is to hold you to a standard that I hold myself to, right? My intention is to hold you to a standard and lift you to a level that you couldn't even imagine that there was, right? Is to hold you to that standard. Right. And that's where Jill says, she's like, when I go to her and I'm like, why is X and Y happening? And this happens a lot in our construction business. And she's like, because Gary, you have a different standard of excellence when it comes to specific things. Right. And you're like, okay, I can handle that. I can handle that. I'm not going to lower the expectation of me for the other. Right. So when it comes to family and friends, you're right. I think that it's hard sometimes for some people who maybe aren't trained in that area to really hold you to that higher standard, because they may be afraid you're going to get mad at them, or they may be afraid that they're going to hurt your feelings, when in reality, it's not about you being mad. It's not about you hurting your feelings, because that person that thinks that way has their own stories on you.
Beautiful.
Right?
Yes, they do.
They have their own stories on you.
Yes, they do.
That's why they're doing that. Right?
They keep you in that box that were comfortable, that comfort with you there. Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
Right? That is why it is like you live that challenge lifestyle. You live that lifestyle to become more. When? Every day. You do it every day. So that you can then become more. And practice what you preach.
And preach what you practice.
Do you know what I mean?
Amen.
I hope that made sense. I
Dude,
felt
that
like
was
I was
amazing.
rambling, but I hope it made sense.
I think I'll just delete everything except for that last. No, I'm just kidding. That was amazing, though. That's such a great point. And folks, honestly, you have to take that to heart, is that everybody around you at first, it's just like the comfort zone. We're so comfortable in our comfort zone, and to grow outside that comfort zone is, there's fear, there's discomfort there, and what we call embrace the suck or embrace the pain that's going to happen and do that. Well, guess what? The people around you, they want you in that comfort zone as well, and they're going to resist that growth that you're going to have as well. Aptly put, bud.
But
Man, that's
not
perfect.
me. But they don't do it
Consciously,
intentionally.
yeah. This unconscious,
right?
yeah. So
when
that's
you live life with intention, it's a totally different ballgame. It's a totally different ballgame.
amen.
Totally different.
Well, man, this was an on fire interview.
I'm psyched. It was good.
So thank you for that. Thank you for that. Okay,
You're so very welcome,
folks. Gary from Greenwich. How do you pronounce it again?
Greenwich. You call it whatever you want.
Greenwich, Connecticut. Elevate Fitness. Make sure you check out his website. Make sure you check him out on Facebook. Folks, that is a hard and heavy. If I had any call to action for this year, this would be the big thing that I would do for you. You get lots of power, you get lots of energy, you get lots of certainty from how we feel. Pain can destroy everything. So can that low energy and just not moving. And so I encourage you, just reach out to any resource. Obviously, I'm going to obviously just tout Gary here as a difference maker. And so I challenge you to do that. Folks, this is Dr. Nick Fanning. Gary, thanks so much for joining with us.
Got it.
Stay after the end credits if you want to hear a little behind the scenes that we're going to do here in a moment. But otherwise, I hope you have a great afternoon, great day, and we're signing off. Thanks. Gary, that was great. Cool. So I got a few questions just for the behind the scenes, just goofiness.
Yeah, word.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Just lightning round, bud.
Boom.
Favorite Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle?
Donatello.
Ooh, the Brainiac.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
So let me tell you a quick thing. Like, I was a huge Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fan, and when I was a kid, it was always Michelangelo.
Oh, right? Well, that was with kids. I mean, pizza, gnarly.
Totally, right? Yeah. And then it's so funny. Like, they're coming out now. Like, my kids are watching. And I'm like, no, y'all, you gotta watch. Like, it's all about here, right?
Uh-huh. Or Leonardo, he had the leadership. But I believe it.
I get it.
Okay, here's the thing: best workout montage. Now you can go two ways with this. You can go the whole 80s route, like, hey, this is the movie and this is Rocky going up the hill, or your personal song right now. What is your workout montage?
So I got to do both, right?
Yeah.
So if there's any Rocky running in Rocky 1, you can play that for people that are our age though, right? Like if you're 20 years old listening to this, you probably have no fucking idea what we're talking about, right?
Your parents failed you.
Totally. But if you're in your 30s and right in your 40s, and you get it, and it's a trigger, right? And it spikes something in you, and you're like, man,
oh yeah,
got this shit, right? And it's on, right?
Amen.
But when I'm working out, I really, when I'm working out and running are two different things. But when I'm working out, I listen to Tupac.
Okay, nice.
I listen to Tupac for a lot of different reasons. One is because I dig the rhyme, and that's it. I dig the rhyme, and I could rap with it in my head, and then while I'm rapping, I can, the awesome rapper that I am, I can do the workout.
Lyrical genius.
And that's huge for me. Yeah.
I love it. Okay. One item on your bucket list.
One item on my bucket list. It's so funny. I don't know. I don't know that there is a bucket list that I have, right? I don't have something where I'm like, okay, I've got to do this before I die. I've got to do this before I die. You know, I'm going to answer this question as honestly and from my heart as I possibly can.
Beautiful.
And the item on my bucket list is seriously not to waste my time while I'm alive. And to...
That's like a good life philosophy. That was nice. Seriously.
I don't know that it, like, when I was a little kid, I watched this movie called The Bronx Tale.
Okay.
It's a super old movie. It's a Robert De Niro movie. And there's a line in the movie, and in the line, they talk about living up to your potential, like not dying, like dying without living up to your potential. And that is something, if I had to put on my bucket list, would be live up to my potential.
Yeah.
In every way, as a husband, as a daddy, as a friend, you know, as a businessman, as just like a transformer of life.
Yeah.
Like live up to my freaking potential and make the use of all of the time that I have, because listen, I could walk out that door right now, and even though I have 17 things on my bucket list, a car could hit me and it not matter. Right? But what matters is right now with you right now.
Beautiful.
Right? So bucket list, cool. But my bucket list is to like spend the time that I have wisely and effectively.
That's beautiful. In fact, that's a great transition from our next question. My favorite quote is from Og Mandino, and he says, "Hell begins the day that God shows you all that you might have achieved."
Yeah.
Okay. What's your favorite quote?
Yeah, favorite quote. Gosh.
Or words to live by.
You know,
can be even from Dad. Who knows?
So you'll get this.
Yeah.
Good. And this is maybe not so much of a quote, but a saying that has been drilled into my brain a lot. And I use it every day, is, you know, that it's not going to be easy. Right?
Yeah.
That it's going to take a while. It's going to take some time, and that nobody is going to save me. It's not going to be easy. It's going to take a while, and no one is going to save me. And
that's memories right there. Yeah.
I mean, really, like it brings chills down my spine just to think about it. But when you actually digest that, and maybe if people are listening to these outtakes and they're kind of like, oh yeah, that sounds great. But they're not like digesting it. Because at first, I don't think I did. I didn't digest it. And until I did, then until you understand it, like no one's coming to save your ass.
Right.
No one's saving you. Right. This is not going to be easy at all. But that's okay.
All of life. Yeah. Parenthood, everything. Yeah.
It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. Right. And it's going to take some time.
Yeah.
Right. There's no 6-minute ads. Right? Like you're not gonna have a conversation with me, and if your goal is to lose 70 pounds, when we get off the phone call, your 70 pounds is out the door. Like that's not how it works. Right. So like favorite quote, like there's tons of quotes, right?
Yeah.
We could quote all freaking day long.
Yes.
But are you living by that quote? Are you living by that? Nobody's coming to save you. Right. It's going to take some time. Right. It is. It just is. It's not going to be easy. I think quotes are great, but I think living by that a quote is way more important than just words on a wall.
Well, folks, I think we have the guy that's going to take from vision boards to action to just happy thoughts and to actually getting those things. And so that's I hope by the end of it all, you guys can totally understand why Gary just had to be on this podcast. Gary, honor you, man. Thank you so much.
You got it, man.
Can't thank you enough on there. And we'll chat again soon. All right, bud?
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right.